moving parts, but it's important that you do know it, it's important that you make all of these meetings.
So these are all actual meetings, or they're just workshops?
These are, well, we can get budget workshops, because at those times, I'm asking the council again, as you review the budget, that you give us input as to what you think needs to come out, stay in, what you anticipate. One of the items that we've been discussing, that's, again, that'll be a capital item, which will be completely separate, another discussion. Well, maybe you included as part of one of the general fund discussion, is capital items. Meaning, what do we need to capitalize? We've been talking about, air conditioning systems, and we have, I think, five facilities that need some sort of, replacement of, and we're talking a significant amount of money. We also have security issues. We've had, that's been a concern. And so we have other items. I don't anticipate, any significant, capital improvements as it relates to our infrastructure, because I don't anticipate we're gonna have the dollars to do significant, capital improvements, but I just wanna make sure that the council at least gives us.
And this is the plan, it's a plan, we can adjust it as we need, but,
All at 6
They're
p.m.?
all at 6 p.m.?
If that's fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
All at 6 p.m.?
Yes, 6 p.m. Yeah.
I'm gonna leave y'all with, can you put that on there, what I have on the. And I say just out of the.
And you said you were gonna leave us, you can't go yet.
No, I'm talking with a little humor.
I'm sorry.
I found this at a tire shop in Eagle Pass, and I just wanna make sure that I gave the message to the mayor, I talked to him some time back and I said, we always have the saying, we want bueno bonito barato. This is similar to that. And so what I'm trying to, I thought it was humorous. And I thought it kind of, but that's kind of what budget.
Can you read it to us?
Reminds, yeah, as to our customers, as with all business, our customers want the job done good, fast, and cheap. However, through careful research and years of experience, we have determined that it is only possible to give the customer any two of the above. Kindly select the combination that best suits your needs. Good, A is good and fast, will not be cheap. B is good and cheap, will not be fast. And C is fast and cheap, will not be good. So, I leave the council with that.
Thank you. All right, council. We have fun here. All right, so we've got a motion and a second to establish this agenda. Any other questions? I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Please raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, council. Now, we're moving on to item 8F. Discuss and consider revisions to the provision, discuss proposed revision to the subdivision regulations, particularly right-of-way requirements for the new subdivision. This is not an action item. This is just for your information. Manager?
You want the other one first?
Yeah.
Right there.
Mayor, council, this item is here because we've had, some questions from the developer that's interested in developing, the lots we just discussed, the 250 something lots. These are your subdivision regulations. If you ever want to, fall asleep, read some of this stuff, it's good. So what I will say, this is chapter 38 of our code of ordinances. This is, now keep in mind that these ordinances date back to, this is 1976, okay? And this is what, whenever we get developers that are interested in doing something, they read this and it's like, okay, what does your subdivision regulations mean? What do your zoning regulations mean? So one of the questions that came up was pavement widths and right-of-way thoroughfares. And so what I had Crystal do is go show you what our current ordinance reads, okay? And if you look at J3, it says residential streets shall have a minimum right-of-way of 60 feet and a minimum paved width of 33 feet. So the gentleman is asking, well, is there any wiggle room to that? What do you need? And what we mean by right-of-way is not just the street. People think it's just the street is a right-of-way. It's your sidewalks, it's your, where you're gonna put your utilities, things of that sort. And so part of what he asked and his request is if we would consider residential roads to be 50 feet as opposed to 60. And keep in mind that you have roads around the city that are 30 feet, I don't know, have 30.
30 and 40 are primarily.
30, 40 feet, so, keep in mind that those roads do exist. But this is the regulation, and this is what he's requesting, and some of this, what we're trying to do is, I was trying to do a complete overhaul of this entire ordinance. Again, because a lot of it dates back to the 1970s. If you scroll down some, Crystal, you can see the reference, go down, a little more. You can see the reference of,
All the way down.
it's a reference there in 1976. You'll
That's
see it.
way at
You'll
the
see it
bottom.
on there. And so that tells me that there it is. That means it hasn't been revised since the 1970s. And that's, I won't say it's a mistake, but it needs revisions from time to time. And Bobby can correct me if I'm wrong on some of this stuff. But in saying that, that's one of the things he's requesting. One of the things that I emailed our engineer, because there's been some discussion, is what we could maybe consider. And again, right now it's almost like I feel like I'm going back to piecemeal in some of this. But go back to some,
I'm used to doing pitch screen.
the other not
The
that.
Word version?
Yeah. This is a little bit, I would say a little bit easier to read, and again, it's whenever they come and ask, well, what do you consider residential road? A minor street is considered, go down. So, a minor street, so there, when we look at right of way, we're asking for that whoever the developer is, have a right of way of 50 feet for residential roads. For the actual pavement standard is 36 feet, and we're asking for curb and gutter. On thoroughfares, roads that are bigger, in this case would be, one of those roads would be, in that development would be AFL, the continuation of AFL. That would be a 60 feet, because that's what we call collector roads. Those are roads that are collecting the residential traffic. So you're running that would be a bigger road. It would have more right-of-way requirement. And then you have your major thoroughfares. Your major thoroughfares here in Pearsall are mine. You have some thoroughfares. You have 1581. You have those that qualify as thoroughfares that would be with text that would make those decisions. That wouldn't be us. So anyway, that's part of the discussion, and that's part of what we're looking at when we're doing the comprehensive plan. This is all part of it. This is all part of it. We're revising these regulations, zoning requirements, zoning that, but this is the discussion right now of the current developer. And I didn't want to say, yes, we're gonna do all this without the council not being aware of.
Okay, and council, just a thought, again, these are new subdivisions, and we've been in some parts of town, that the roads are kind of tight and housing kind of tight, and people park on the streets. So that's a thing to think about. I personally, just my opinion, I would not like to see it get any smaller. The two new developments, we have Deer Park out there that's outside of town, and the one on Tolson land. You can look how much better they are because they're wide, the houses are wide. So anyway, it is a request, it's something we need to address, but just wider streets just create better optics and that kind of thing. My opinion, anyway, Councilwoman.
Just remember one thing, Mayor, and I would ask the council to remember one thing. For wider streets, more maintenance cost.
Yeah.
And so you have to, and so.
That's coming from a city boy.
There's a cost in
That's
that.
coming from a city guy.
Well, no, wait, he just said he's from the country.
He was, but then he was in the city as a city manager.
Yeah.
Big difference. He's
Yeah, he's
thinking
not a
as a city
country
manager.
manager, he's a city manager. Okay.
Let's think about it like a country boy.
Yeah.
When you first mentioned cutting it from 60 to 55, I envisioned San Antonio Herald Drive. No parking. And that's what we gotta consider. We live this country life because our houses do not touch each other. We have spaces between our homes. We have on our streets, we have where guests can park and nobody is stuck together. We've got to consider where this developer is considering building on how much acreage he's bought there, where only one car can fit in the parking in their personal driveway, and then everybody else would have to wait to get through. That I don't think Pearsall would like that. we definitely would have to consider that and how close our houses are built together. I know I live on Margot Drive, and the ordinance says the houses all have to be the same. If you look out your door, all the houses are straight, you know, and you have to have so many feet between each other's homes. So I would frown upon widening it, I mean, you know, not to lessen it, is it? Then, to make sure he can pack 250 homes. You got 250 homes, pretty much everybody has 2 cars per home. Do the math on that. It's gonna be overpopulated.
I think the only thing I was just add to that, and again, it's a tough decision, some of these things are hard, because the other side to it, when you think about this is, and I think the council's mentioned this, more than one council member, is the need for homes. And so with that, is that consideration, not only that is, and I've heard it several times, is we're making it, and this is not, and I have to agree to some extent, we're making it hard for people to build. I don't know how where that fits into the discussion, but that's part of the consideration.
Any other
Mayor?
questions, Councilman Leon?
I could definitely see the side in which, Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez is saying, you know, as far as wide roads, you know, living out here in the country life, you know, tasting country, you get those wide roads and so forth, but then again, a lot of these developers are looking at profit, are looking at how much money are they gonna make, what's feasible to them. Now, is this something that we wanna hold over their head, and then for them to say, well, why do we wanna build in Pearsall when we're gonna be capped on our profit when we go to Dilly and go build over there and just down the street, or go to Moore, where we don't have to worry about this? So it's something that we gotta definitely consider. Do we want the luxury, or do we want the tax base?
A lot of factors here to think about.
A lot of factors to think about.
It's good to kick around, I mean, any other council member have any other thoughts on
Now,
this?
this is just a discussion, right?
Oh, yeah, no, actually not, just,
Yeah.
it's coming down the track, so you guys.
So it's, I mean, it's something that we gotta all individually sit back, think about, and, you know, do some research on and see which route is best for the community.
I think what we should do,
Go ahead,
I
Councilman.
mean, I think- I think yes, I mean, the streets need to be wide, I mean, because look at the San Antonio subdivisions, my daughter lives at one, and I sometimes have to go park on the other block because there's no parking around there because everybody's there, you know, and it's not.
And it's hard to drive trailers through.
you know, I'm all for homes being built here, you know, our family is clearing now acres because we want homes to be built here. But I think what we need to do now is maybe take a poll, use, Councilman Trevino's idea, let's utilize our Facebook base and ask them and show pictures of the subdivision with the width of the road that they're asking, and ask them, would you purchase a house in a subdivision like this? You also have to consider, I personally wouldn't buy a home that I could touch the next door neighbor's house with my hand. But that's my only personal thing, because I
It's the lifestyle.
I like the small town living. I go to my sister's house, the brick wall is the neighbor, and she's in the Dominion, you know? But they pile them up to make that money. But I think if we go ahead and, utilize our social media and tell people this is coming up, you know, we're gonna base this decision on y'all's opinions, you know? Would y'all like to have smaller roads?
More houses or bigger
Houses,
roads, is that something?
would you purchase the home? We don't want them to build the homes either and nobody get them.
Yeah.
And then we look like Highway 16, that developer did it about 15 years ago, there's beautiful homes halfway done,
Yeah.
but nobody purchased them.
And there is this great comment, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I agree with the having the wider roads, you know, but I also agree with city manager, you know, that if we restrict these guys, you know, of course, they're gonna pack the pool. And here we are, we're investing already, the city's investing in Starbucks, and the more we can grow in investing in new businesses is by having housing, you know, so, you know, we're gonna do a disservice to as well to Pearsall by eliminating that itself in the 10 feet. And, because, you know, if we don't have housing, you know, we're not gonna get anything bigger to come in because, you know, we won't have that proper houses
Yeah.
to, you know, to house people come in.
I think it would be
So
something.
we really don't have the the meaningful workforce here.
Yeah. Councilman Torino?
And just to echo a bunch of remarks that are being said by council members, but I agree. I think that it is time that we're moving up, we're moving forward. Economic development is key to the success of the city. So we have to make it accessible and easier for people to come in and be wowed by our city. And if it means that sometimes we have to look beyond certain points, and this is the time. We have to make it easier for these developers to come in and say, you know what, I do wanna build in Pearsall. I do want new businesses to come in Pearsall, and they're gonna rely on us who represent the citizens and the city to say, you know what, it's easier to work with this council, with this city.
Great point, and sometimes you gotta give a little bit, get what we're gonna talk about on abatement. But another question too, to look at, again, just to think about is it would be good to know, okay, so they're gonna build 200 homes. So what's the difference between a 50 easement and a 40 easement? Is it 190 homes, you know, to see what the difference is?
Yeah, it's gonna give us the
What's
numbers.
the cost, risk, reward? I mean, 180 homes would be great, you know, but so anyway, a lot of things to think about. Well, guys, great discussion, and that's what this is all about. Is there anybody else would like to say anything?
And I'll be more than happy to, I mean, if anybody wants to review subdivision regulations with me or else, and keep in mind that a lot of the communities around here have those minimum requirements, meaning they have, you know, your 50 feet. And think about it this way, your average car width is what?
12. Well, I mean, the average lane is 12 feet.
No, the car width, the width of a car.
Like 8.
8 feet, so 8 feet, you're talking 16 feet, you're talking another 20. So you have, again, now we're looking at the widths, right now we're talking about roads. The developer that we're looking at, or he's mentioning, well, I'm gonna have sidewalks on each side. Okay, well, maybe some people wanna have sidewalks. When the last time a subdivision with a development with sidewalks came in, I don't know, I'm here, so maybe it's been a while, I'm sure. But those are things to consider is the amenities, and then getting to a price point for him and for us, so we can say, if you're gonna build a home for $200,000, yeah, can somebody move in there that lives in, you know, fixed on an income that maybe is more suitable to Pearsall?
$2,000 a month.
One of the things that I've had, we looked at, and there's other things to consider again, is you start looking at even your setback requirements. And you're right, some of the setback requirements, our setback requirements require, you're gonna have a big yard, and that's all part of this whole, it's like, you're gonna have a big yard, and it requires that. And so you have the setbacks for even the back to the front, and you have your sides, but the intent of when these were done back in the 1970s was because people wanted to have big yards. Now, you ask me, I don't wanna have big yard, because I don't need cutting grass.
I
That's
don't
me.
either, but I got 5 kids, I gotta put
But
them somewhere.
that's part of the discussion is trying to figure out who we're trying to bring
Yeah.
in. And if we're trying to bring in these younger folks that maybe can't afford a house of $250,000 or $300,000, maybe that's the.
What's the average home cost that he's building,
280,
200,000?
280, well, no, the average across the country is like 280,000, but here he's looking at less than 200,000. He's trying to get
So
in.
that's a $2,000 monthly rent.
Oh, gosh,
payment.
yes.
And
it's terrible.
I've been in rent business here a
Yeah.
long time, and if you push over 1,000, you ain't getting your rent.
Yeah, and it's hard, but still, price point, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what we're looking at, with high cost inflation. Councilman?
Is he gonna go based off the same concept he did in Pendleton,
Sure.
on Jordanton?
Yes, sir. Well, it's a little different. That was 10 years ago.
I'm just saying, because if that's the case, then maybe some council members can go over there,
Yeah,
look
sure.
at that project and
Sure.
see how the roads look,
Sure.
see how everything looks, if he's gonna go kind of based off the same plans.
Yeah. Indian Crossings, what it's called there, in Jordan, not far from the school. So anyway, well, great discussion, council. With that, is there anybody else got any thoughts? Be thinking about that as we move forward, because that'll be coming up before you know it, because we desperately need housing. All right, now we get the really fun one. Item 8G, discuss and consider approving fireworks show for July the 4th event, which will be held at the Pearsall Fort Complex. This is an action item, and it is, got a motion from Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez, do I have a second? Second by Councilwoman Garza. And again, this is discuss and consider, so we have a motion and a second. Brad, is this you?
Yes, all of us, I think we're all here, we're gonna try to figure this one out.
All right.
This item one, we have to request permission we're gonna have a fireworks show similar to what the school district did to request permission from the council to have a firework display. You'll have in your packet, I'll begin on page 85, the event will be July the 1st. And the reason July 1st was chosen is because I think Billy and Patuba have events on July 2nd and 3rd. And so July 1st falls on a Friday. We felt that maybe we wouldn't get much participation on July 4th, which is a Monday, people have to go work. So that's part of the discussion. We try to gather as many quotes as we could. I think Ram did a pretty good job of that, and so you have a quote there, I think of